Welcome, residents, to the Dr. DC podcast. My name is producer Richard, and across from me is the Doctor himself.
Hello.
Each week, we talk about the weird and wonderful world of DC while fielding questions from listeners just like you. And today is the fifth day of
just
DocMas.
finished telling
I know.
what episode
Today
this
is
was.
the fifth day of DocMas. We didn't mess up the dates, the times, because people showed up early and...
Even if you did, sixth is not even part of that equation.
Nope. That's right. It's the one I told you about because it's the right one and I didn't mess anything up.
Number 5.
That's right. It's the 5th episode of DocMas because I didn't mess anything up.
And that's all the time we have. Thank you for listening. You can reach us on social media.
I didn't mess a single thing up. Thank God.
You're scrolling a lot for someone who didn't mess up.
That's right.
You all right?
Yep. Apparently, we're going to the news. Some information that's cool was apparently Chris McKay is working on a Lego Batman sequel movie.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
How did you feel about the first movie?
I liked it. I think we talked about it maybe on a previous episode where it was like, I actually kind of feel bad for the Lego Batman movie because I think it's great, but because it couldn't possibly have captured lightning in a bottle the way that Lego movie did. Mm-hmm. I think it just kind of felt like, oh, it's fine. Even though it's like probably like, if you just looked at it, it's
much like many of my sexual encounters in life. It's fine.
It's like, I think it's probably actually great. But I think because I was going in, I was like, holy shit, like the Lego movie just blew me away. And this one like sort of just met that. It didn't like exceed it. And so I think I came out of it and being like, yeah, it was fine. But I think it's legitimately like a great movie. So of course it gets a sequel. Why wouldn't it? I think it was a lot of fun. I think the voice acting was great. I think it had a lot of fun with both the idea of Batman and the idea of Lego. So yeah, why not? Of course. Make a second one.
That's awesome.
Wasn't Chris McKay the guy that was supposed to be developing a Nightwing movie for the DCEU?
That could be possibly
Guess
true.
that's not happening.
Apparently not. I actually really loved that movie, but the Batman movie. I think that there were some really, really funny parts. I think that as a story, it wasn't super great, but I think the funny bits in it were really good. I just think that they treated it more like a Lego movie than a Batman movie, and so because of that, it didn't turn out super great. It was very like sort of like, Batman because of like Bruce Wayne and Robin.
I did like the idea of blending the two things, though, that the Phantom Zone was actually like the gateway to that like larger Lego world, like we saw in the Lego movie, because the third act of the Lego Batman movie has like the Eye of Sauron and like all of these other sort of like Lego set kind of villains in there, like Voldemort's in there and shit like that. So I thought that was kind of clever, but yeah.
All right, well, let's head over to the questions portion of this, which means we're dropping into Facebook.
Going to the face and the book, going to the Facebook.
Our first question comes from old friend Michael O'Brien.
Hey.
We don't got a drop for him yet. But...
Chief O'Brien, beam me up.
Michael O'Brien. Michael asks, can you cover the convoluted history of Monarch?
Sure. So Monarch is a villain who shows up in an event called Armageddon 2001. And basically the idea is that Monarch is from this dystopian future. All we know about Monarch is that at some point in the past...
Bruce Willis shows up.
No. At some point...
Liv Tyler?
No.
Ben Affleck.
You got to drill.
My favorite story from that movie is apparently Ben Affleck asked Michael Bay why it was easier to teach drillers how to be astronauts than teaching astronauts how to drill. And Michael Bay told him to shut the fuck up, and they kept filming.
Okay. Okay, that's amazing.
So, in this Armageddon 2001 story, in this dystopian future, Monarch rules the world. And what we know is that he used to be a hero, and at some point he turns evil, and then he becomes Monarch and takes over. But we don't know anything more than that. And in that future, this guy named Matthew Ryder, he's experimenting with time travel. He ends up sort of absorbing chronal energy, becomes this character called Wave Rider. And he goes back in time. Monarch follows him, and this big fight ensues because Wave Rider wants to stop his future from ever happening. And basically, ultimately, Monarch kills Dove of Hawk and Dove, and then Hawk kills Monarch, and then rips the mask off and sees that it's him. Like Hawk, Hank Hall, becomes Monarch, and then he does. And then later in the comics, so Hawk ends up, as Monarch, has the powers of both Hawk and Dove. So controls powers of both the Lords of Order and of Chaos.
Okay.
And then later he also absorbs the chronal energy from Wave Rider and becomes Extant, which is a villain who could also travel through time and manipulate time. And in 0 Hour, Extant is set up as like the main bad guy. And then you find out near the end of 0 Hour that he's actually working for Parallax, Hal Jordan, after he turned bad, trying to remake the universe. Ultimately, Extant escapes the 0 Hour, but is later caught up with by the Justice Society. And they use time travel to basically like flip him and put him into a plane that's crashing, and he dies. So Hank Hall basically starts as Hawk of Hawk and Dove, discovers he's destined to become Monarch, goes crazy, becomes Monarch, gains chronal energy, becomes Extant, and then dies in a plane crash. And then in Blackest Night is resurrected, and then is like properly like resurrected, brought back to life during Brightest Day, and just comes back as Hawk. So that's, in a very short nutshell, that's the story of Monarch. It includes Extant and Hawk, basically, because it's all Hank Hall.
Extant going to give it to you.
Nice.
All right. Let's go on to Twitter.
Twitter.
Where we got a question from Sean Haggerty.
All right.
Who asks, I'm reading the 4-issue No Justice mini and completely digging Starro. Can you tell us more about this crazy cat and maybe recommend some further reading?
Right. So Starro the Conqueror, he's this giant alien starfish with basically mind control powers.
That's fucking awesome.
In the Justice League's very first appearance, they fight Starro the Conqueror. So that's sort of that character's place in the mythology. That's the first instance of the Justice League working together, is them defeating Starro. There have been a couple of different versions of Starro, but usually it's that there's a main Starro and then some smaller starfishes that can attach themselves to people's faces, and then they become
like face huggers?
They become minions of Starro, basically.
Ooh. Some alien-esque stuff going on there.
Exactly. There's a couple of good stories that involve Starro. One of them is in a series called Rebels, like R.E.B. etc. And there's another one in, I think, like the whatever it was in the 2000s, the Booster Gold series. Those are a couple of decent stories that involve Starro, but in general, it's a character that's like referenced often, but not necessarily always used at the forefront of things. In the aftermath of that No Justice arc, we're into Scott Snyder's full Justice League run.
Scott Snyder.
Perfect. Starro, spoiler alert, gets like killed in No Justice, but a little like piece of him, Batman takes him and keeps him in a jar, and it grows this thing that Batman calls Jarro, and he works with Batman. So now Jarro is like Batman's sort of like psychic alien pal in the Justice League.
Oh my god.
So there was Starro, now there's Jarro.
That's fucking
which is
hilarious.
Very funny. But yeah, I would recommend if you're interested in more Starro stories, a couple of big ones. There's one in that series called Rebels, and there's one in the Jeff Johns Booster Gold series from the 2000s. And both of those, I think, are ones that I would recommend. That one in the Booster Gold one is Starro trying to go through time to basically assume control of everyone, and that's a pretty cool one.
Dope.
Yeah.
I just realized we forgot to do a little video for Instagram, so I'm gonna do that.
Oh yeah, let's do it right now.
Even though my wine is empty.
Wow, you finished it already?
Yeah, dude, I'm drunk.
Bro, we've got like 7 more of these.
I know. So this is episode 5. The doctor is drinking.
Howdy.
O'Shea has left.
Who?
And what's up? I'm very drunk. Do I get the red face yet?
Take more time.
Do I got the red face yet?
No, I just want you to take more time between words. I feel like you're...
I'm drunk.
No, that's it. You have enough.
Okay,
That's
cool.
all the evidence we need.
Pepperoni. Okay, who did that?
Oh my God. Richard,
Huh?
are you going to make it?
Hmm?
Am I going to have to carry this whole thing myself? As usual?
I was gonna say, I'm like, wow, it'd be nice to take some weight off my back for once. Next question comes from Raspberries Reviews, the kind you find on the Secondhand Podcast. The Prince, you are a wonderful human being. That's dead now.
Wow. Weird way to put that.
Yep.
Made that so somber.
Yep.
By the way, Raz, your contribution last episode,
Mwah.
fucking incredible.
Definitely.
Yeah, loved it.
All right. Raz asks, Darkseid is one of my favorite DC villains, especially in the Superman and Justice League animated series.
Sure.
I would like to know what you guys think of the character, and if you can, who would you cast as Darkseid in the DCU?
Why don't you start? What's your experience with Darkseid? What do you know of or think of this character?
I think it's a character that was obviously created to beat specifically Superman.
Actually, when did he? Actually, Darkseid's technical first appearance, I think, is in an issue of Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen.
Really?
Even though he's meant to be part of Kirby's fourth world, I think there was he sort of had this character, but he hadn't sort of constructed the whole fourth world yet. And he shows up on a TV screen or something like that. It's technically the first appearance of Darkseid, but it's in a issue of Jimmy Olsen or something like that.
Regardless, it's not a character that I have a ton of experience with. He showed up in the animated series, obviously.
What do you know of him though? If I say Darkseid, who is that?
It's that rock dude. That's
yes, yeah. He kind of has rock skin. Yeah,
yeah. That's initially what I think of. It's the rock guy who's a leader of his planet.
Apocalypse.
Yeah, that's right. That's kind of all I really think about. There's not a lot that I get. He doesn't show up all the time. He's got the parademons, right?
Yep. Yeah, that's Darkseid. Essentially, he's the god of evil.
He was in the Justice League movie.
Well, he was meant to be
originally.
They reference him at one point. Steppenwolf says, "I'll take my place among the new gods." For Darkseid.
Well, I mean, they had parademons in Justice League, so it makes you think that Darkseid would have been in it.
And in Zack Snyder's, I think Darkseid would have been in it.
Would have been. It's fucking dope.
Hashtag release the Snyder Cut.
Did you see that that Jason Momoa even recently? Yeah, he was like, I'd love to see that version.
Yeah, I'm not super vocal about it, but I privately I keep the torch alive that will get a Snyder Cut. But
yeah. But yeah, it's not a character I know a ton about. I think I've seen him little bits here and there in the TV shows and things like that. But he's extremely powerful.
Yes.
He reminds me of like this space age sort of god character.
Yeah.
Reminds me of something that would be in X-Men or something, but
yeah. Well, I think both Thanos and Apocalypse are based on Darkseid in different respects.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Design wise, or even just as the idea of a cosmic conqueror. But I mean, Darkseid is essentially the god of evil. He's one of the new gods. He's the Lord of Apocalypse. He opposes the forces of New Genesis. He's become a major Superman villain because Superman is one of few characters actually strong enough to even face Darkseid because he's so powerful.
Who would you cast as Darkseid?
Yeah, that's fucking hard, man, because I mean ultimately Darkseid is going to be a CG'd character, so you're really just asking for voice.
Who would
someone who has voiced Darkseid and did a great job, frankly, is Andre Braugher, who plays Captain Holt on Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Oh.
He voiced Darkseid in an animated adaptation of Superman Batman Apocalypse, which is a story that involves Supergirl. And he was really good in that one. I loved the voice. I think anyone with that sort of like deep kind of bass voice, you know, so even if you had like a Kevin Michael Richardson or someone like that voicing him, because really I don't think you could put someone in a costume and make them a credible Darkseid. I think we're looking at CGI for that one.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I would love to see Sam Elliott.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You wanted to have like a southern
I don't think he needs to do like he'll have to fix the accent a bit.
Chevrolet.
Like, yeah, he's showing up and like, hello, Superman. I think that I should probably kill you now, but
Southern Darkseid.
I'm obviously Darkseid, and I think that I could probably kill you pretty easily.
I mean, he's on the dark side of the Mason-Dixon line. We'll put it that way.
Ooh. I could go in many different directions.
That's a fun Civil War reference for our listeners.
Jesus. Yeah. That's awesome, though. All right, well, let's move on to the next question from Stump Chunkman.
Step into the stump.
Stump Chunkman. Who asks, is there a DC analog for Blade?
Right.
Everyone's favorite black vampire hunter.
Who's also kind of a vampire, right?
Who's a daywalker.
Yeah.
That's right.
So
that's right. He's a daywalker.
Again,
this is me, Darkseid again. He both walks in the light and in the dark. White man can't jump.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, Alfred, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much, Mr. Darkseid. It's lovely to be here on your plantation, Mr. Darkseid.
Yes, that's right, Liz. I got a nice plantation out there.
I wonder, though, if maybe you're...
They don't call me Darkseid for nothing.
Well, clearly...
Much like the people that work my fields.
No, we lost it. Fuck, what was the question about? Oh, right, Blade. So I don't, as we know, I don't know that much about Marvel Comics, but essentially Blade is like a part vampire in Marvel who hunts vampires. Yeah, the Daywalker.
Who's apparently supposed to be making a new one.
Because he can go, he can walk in the light. Is that the idea with Blade?
Yeah.
He's like half vampire
That's
or something.
right.
So the closest I could find in DC is a character called Andrew Bennett, also known as I, Vampire. That was the name of the series. But basically, Andrew Bennett, it's like a 19th century kind of character, and he's bitten by a vampire, becomes a vampire. His girlfriend or fiance is also bitten, but she becomes evil. She becomes Mary, Queen of Blood, and basically inspires this like cult of vampires. So Andrew Bennett, in order to stop her, is essentially a vampire fighting vampires, which is, I think, as close as I could find to DC's version of Blade, right? Now the thing with Andrew Bennett is he's kind of got like a True Blood thing where like he doesn't drink human blood or what he, like they don't have true blood, but it's something to that effect.
Yeah.
Like he's whatever the vampire equivalent of vegan is, that's kind of like him. But that's a series that like started back in the fucking 70s. I think it's like J.M. DeMatteis created Andrew Bennett. Scott Snyder, I think, did a brief run on the character. He had a New 52 incarnation, but basically, yeah, he's a vampire who has still retains some like human morality and fights against vampires that just seek to kind of conquer or kill or things like that. That's as close as I can find to a DC version of Blade. It's important to note, Andrew Bennett is not black. Like, it's not like full on Blade. And he's not like a daywalker. He's not like half. He's just a legit vampire that fights vampires.
Yeah.
It's not exactly the same, but that's, I think, the closest approximation I can find in DC.
I went to school with a guy named Drew Bennett.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is he a vampire?
I mean, I don't know, but he could play a mean, like, 2001's, like Yarrock.
Oh. Yeah. It's been a while since I could.
Yeah. He was in a band called October in Maine.
Oh, Jesus. And I've gone and fucked things up just like I always do. It's been a while
But all that shit seems to disappear when I'm with you. I can't tell you how much I love Jarl Rock.
I know.
I was in a Jarl Rock cover band for a bit.
I know.
University called Solera.
Ooh, that's
Soulara.
So nerdy and Jarl Rock at the same time.
Yeah, I used to play acoustic piano versions of like fucking Seether songs and shit like that.
Do you play piano?
I taught myself.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't know that.
I'm not excellent, but I'm passable.
Wow, that's much like this podcast.
Like everything in my life.
With that, the Dr. GC podcast, we're back after this quick break.
What a note to end on.
Hey, residents. I want to take this opportunity to do a huge shout out to the Brain Freeze Podcast Network. If you go to brainfreezepodcast.com, you can learn more about the amazingly fun and diverse podcasts on this network. Obviously, you'll find the Dr. DC podcast, but have you listened to The Goods from the Woods yet? Each episode dives into a unique cultural phenomenon from cryptozoology to Elvis. Each week provides a hilarious history dive into some of the strange happenings across the world. Or how about the Headbangers with Holmes podcast? Did you listen to emo, hardcore, pop punk, maybe screamo, or one of the other million punk and metal subgenres in the early 2000s? Then you'll love Headbangers. Each week, they interview a different touchstone of the music back then, and along the way, learn about what it's like to grow up playing music. How about the newest podcast on Brain Freeze, The Deli Boys? It's hosted by the beloved comedy writers Evan Susser and David Phillips, who set off to do something never before done. Rank 14 Jewish delis. How would you like to hear 3 amazing comedians talk about the things they hate most in life? Well, then you need to check out the Hate Locker podcast. Every other week, the hosts of the Hate Locker argue whose hate is more poignant by discussing the things that bug them most, usually joined by a hilarious comedian guest. If you're talking about brain freeze, then you have to mention the Squeezebox podcast. Going for over a decade now, these 2 best friends talk about their lives, jobs, society, and often a lot of dick jokes and wordplay. Usually about dick jokes. No matter what you like, Brain Freeze has something you will probably enjoy. So go to brainfreezepodcast.com to learn more, or go to whichever podcast provider you use and look for one of these great podcasts. All right, back to the show. And we're back.
Hey!
Oh.
Every episode.
Like always, we got a question from our previous guest and comedian, writer, podcaster Kyle Clark from the podcast This Is Rad. He's got a question for us.
Sure.
Which is an audio play. He wants us to create an audio play of what Speedy did while a junkie. Sidekick spotting is what he's looking for.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, to me, the audio play is probably not that exciting to listen to.
It's just, you mean it's just like fuck feels so good. Fuck.
Just shoot a fucking heroin arrow at me.
Yeah.
Just like, oh, maybe he did that.
Oh,
you know, for the exhilaration, maybe he has like a needle arrow, like a syringe arrow, puts the heroin in there, does like a bunch of bank like trick shots, and then like, and he's like, oh,
yeah.
I think that's as close as we can get to some sort of imaginative version of, instead of it just him in an alley tying a rubber like band around his arm, like,
fuck, I deserve this.
Fucking just, oh yeah, fuck.
Maybe now he'll love me.
This is super dark, but also not the first time Kyle has asked about heroin, Speedy.
It's true. I think it's something that
He's got a thing for heroin, Speedy.
All right. Well, next we have...
What a contradiction of terms, by the way. Heroin, Speedy?
Yeah, it slows you down.
That's the joke.
Yeah. We got a voicemail.
Really?
Yep. Let's go to our voicemail.
From whom?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I haven't listened to them, so...
What a well-vetted podcast.
Yeah. Expect nothing less.
Hey guys, this is Jesse. It's that Jesse from PUBG Pastries.
Puff Cheek Pastries makes lots of food, makes delicious treats for me. I wish I could cook.
I got a question and a dial talk. As for my question, what are some big Latinx characters that are in the DC realm? And what are some big creators? Also, here's my my dial talk.
All right, let's do the first question. Let's do the question first. Do you know of any specifically like Latin creators of comics? Like, I know that we obviously last DocMas, we actually provided you with some artwork from Jay Gonzo.
Yep.
Who's I believe he's based out of Arizona, but he's he did some amazing like Mexican wrestling stuff, and then he also well, I can't remember the name of his comic series, but if you look up Jay Gonzo on Instagram and things like that, you can see his comic book work. But he's an amazing comic book artist as well as a tattoo artist.
People who currently or recently work for DC Comics, the two that pop to mind are Juan Ferreira, who does like really kind of beautiful, it feels like oil painting kind of style work. Although right now he's doing the art for Killmonger over at Marvel, and it's fucking exceptional. But he did a long run on Green Arrow. He did Gotham by Midnight, which was a Spectre series.
Yeah.
Like, Juan Ferreira's art is like fucking tight. And then Jorge Jimenez, who has been doing work on Justice League with Scott Snyder. Those are two that just spring to mind right away as creators. I'm sure there are many, many more, but I am a few wines in and and put on the spot. In terms of Latinx characters, we've talked about Jaime Reyes, the third Blue Beetle. That's a pretty major one. Jessica Cruz, the most recent Green Lantern. That's a big one as well. Blue Beetle hasn't had a series for a little bit, but Jessica Cruz has been relatively high profile, and she's part of Justice League Odyssey right now, which is pretty big. Renee Montoya, aka the Second Question, but she's a Gotham City police detective. That's a particularly major Latinx character. There are lots, and there are more than I'm listing. But again, I'm a little bit drunk and sort of put on the spot. But I mean, the short answer is that there are lots, probably not enough. I mean, almost certainly not enough. But they're in there. I think Bunker, which was a creation for the New 52, he's a member of the Teen Titans that could make like psionic bricks. I think that was a Latinx character. Who else? Yolanda Montez, the second Wildcat. They're out there. They're not necessarily the ones that have the most stories written about them, which probably is not surprising. But they're out there. There's ground that is ready to be explored with those characters. And the idea that like the Jaime Reyes Blue Beetle might have a movie in development and things like that, like that's kind of exciting. It'd be neat to see not only a Latinx character led superhero movie, but also one, I mean, that's basically kind of like a DC Spider-Man thing, right? He's still a kid, he's in high school, he's dealing with very like adolescent issues while also being a superhero. On the Marvel side, that's Miles Morales, right? He's black and Latinx. That's that character's background. So, I mean, those characters are out there. If you look for them, you will find them. But are they necessarily the most popular? Not yet. But Jaime Reyes and I think Jessica Cruz are probably the two biggest. Renee Montoya is probably third on that list, though.
You killed my father, prepare to die.
Nice.
Well, let's hear his dial dog.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
It's Wi-Fi Foo.
Wi-Fi Foo.
Wi-Fi Foo. Oh, God. Okay.
Finds the closest weeb or otaku and adopts their powers of the last anime character that they looked up, or they have a background in one of their devices, like phone or wallpaper or whatever. So hopefully it's like a cool magical girl or maybe a homegirl from Black Lagoon. So thanks for taking this call. Y'all enjoy. Bye.
That's dope.
I like that we got a y'all in there, too.
I know. You're from California, Jesse, I'm pretty sure. Throwing out y'alls. Yeah, I like it.
That doesn't seem right. Isn't that a Texas thing? Shouldn't California be like, yeah, dude. Hey, Michael, did you hear all the dial talk we got?
Oh, yes, I did. It's from Jesse. He's so great. Making treats for me every day.
It's Jake and Michael McDonald in the morning. Remember these characters? We bring them up so often.
Look.
I'm so fucking sorry. Oh.
All right. Well,
I'm the penguin. I'm in the iceberg lounge. It's so fucking cold.
oh my God. The Iceberg Lounge.
Yeah.
I like that.
That's the name of Penguin's Club.
Is it?
Did you not know that?
I did not.
It's the Iceberg Lounge, yeah.
Of course it is.
It's,
Sounds pretty cool.
It's so fucking cold in here. Oh, you need a jacket. You're going to get cold.
My nipples are so hard.
Oh my God, you're going to get sick if you don't wear a sweater.
Well, speaking of Dial Doc, you know what time that is then.
Damn it.
We got to create our own.
Okay.
I've got mine.
Oh, okay. Well, why don't you go first then this time?
My character's name is Dice.
Dice?
Who's it's like it's similar to like a Two-Face situation where he throws dice.
Oh, sorry. Is this like my character Tabletop from like 3 weeks ago?
Maybe.
Fuck you.
He throws dice, but he has to however many whatever the number shows is how many moves they have to get before they kill you.
He's ripped off my character. You're not even ripping off a different character. You're just ripping me off.
Because at the end he goes, oh.
That's how it's different.
Oh.
Sure. Okay.
My dogs are losing their shit.
My character
Stratus might be here.
My character is called Sir Mix-a-Pot. Sir Mix-a-Pot is like a big, burly, kind of Italian-looking character with a bunch of like full-size pots of soup like on a belt surrounding them, like as if they were steel drums. And each soup has like a different thing it can do. So like one soup could like be acid that like melts a wall, or one soup could be like could like grant could like hypnotize people or whatever. So they got these ladles and all these different pots of soup, and they're basically just hurling soup to make different things happen.
That's not the kind of pot I thought you were going to do.
That's Sir Mix-a-Pot. Yeah.
Wow. Well, with that, I'd love to hear your guys' dial docs, because maybe they're far superior to those.
What do you mean, maybe?
If you want to send in yours, you can use the hashtag DialDoc and send us your idea for a hero or villain. Just send us a question, maybe also, or nerd out with us on about random DC stuff.
Nerd out with us.
Nerd out with us. You can reach us on Facebook,
Dr. DC Podcast,
Twitter
at Dr. DC,
Instagram,
Dr. DC Podcast.
We got an email,
drdcpodcast@gmail.com.
Well, we got that fancy subreddit,
r/Dr_DC.
I'll check out articles and merch that we have available on our website,
drdcpodcast.com or .ca.
And finally, you can call us. The doc phone is open. Leave us a voicemail at 208-917-DCEU. That's 1-208-917-3238. Also, don't forget to give us a 5-star review and a review, write us something. It's fun. I'm drunk. Fuck. If you give we're at 21 reviews right now, but if we get to 30, we're going to do a live stream video episode, so you'll be able to see us while we're in the midst of being stupid.
You'll be able to see us fumble for the information we need.
Exactly. So the only way to do that is to give us a 5-star review on iTunes and write something nice about the podcast, or something bad. I don't care.
Or something not nice. Our standards are pretty low.
Yeah, as long as you give us 5 stars, I don't care what you write.
That's true.
But with that, we'll see you tomorrow for episode 6.
Yes.
Same doc time, same doc channel. Ciao, ciao.
Adios.
Superheroes. They always fight for what is right. Live with danger and adventure. They are men of might.
This was a Brain Freeze podcast.